Hi, welcome to my channel, Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get crafting. Today we're going to do farmhouse style DIYs. I picked up these 3 letters from Walmart in their little craft section, an H, an M, and an E. I also have this sign from Dollar Tree that had a bunny on it and Happy Easter, and I'm just taking off that covering, the paper with the design. On this particular one, it came off super easy with a little heat and my putty knife. Doesn't always work that easy. Remove the little hanger for the moment. I'm using my White Kills primer that I got that I use so often, and I'm going to cover the whole sign. It'll take about 1.5 to 2 coats to do it. And I'm actually covering the front where I removed the paper. That way the back will be nice and neat and I don't have to worry about anything because it doesn't have anything on it. I learned a technique watching some of my friends, Kay and Trish, on the Crafting Cousins. I'm going to put a link for them because they're really talented. After my paint dries, I'm going to be drawing lines, so you've got my square out, to create a faux shiplap. Now they use a pencil. I was doing this different in the past, so I wanted to try it the way they do. Right now I'm just measuring about 2 inches between each line that I'm going to draw, and then I'm going to draw them. And then I'm going to take a little cloth. Now they use their finger. I can't stand the lead on my finger, not because of lead poisoning, but just because I don't like it. Anyway, I'm going to get it just slightly damp and I'm going to smudge the line. And it doesn't matter if it smudges too much. I'm just thickening it up a little bit here. But here I go. Look at that. I'm smudging the line and it comes out so good. They were right. Of course they were right. They're amazing. I'm going to do the edges too. And then I'm going to take a super chippy brush, one of my worst brushes, and do a little white over the top. And that kind of just makes it look like worn shiplap. Do you guys love that or what? It's probably my new favorite way to do it. And that's how I think I'm going to do it from now on. And I'm just making sure that the ends had enough on it. I think I didn't do as much as I wanted. So I went back and just did a little more pencil and then smudged it up a bit. I'm going to take my letters now. And I'm going to leave that white that was left on my chippy brush, and I'm going to use my antique wax. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint the letters, and that way they look like a lighter kind of antique brown. And this isn't real wood I'm painting, so it's not like it's going to look like a stain. It's like MDF. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover it, and I will go in and get the sides as well. I'm just not going to make you watch all of that. And of course I'm speeding this up because watching paint is not fun unless you're actually drawing something or painting something specific, you know, like a design. Now I'm going to take my letters and I'm going to position them on my sign. And if you notice, I have the shiplap going vertically up and down. And I'm just going to do one of those home signs that you've seen a million people do and just do my own spin on it because I don't have one and I want one. So I'm going to do the H above. I'm going to use these florals I got at Dollar Tree to make the O, just kind of wrapping them around. I'll hot glue them together and I'm going to hot glue my letters directly to the sign. Now the sign's just going to be hanging up on the wall, and I think hot glue is going to hold enough. Depending on where you're going to put yours or how it is, you could choose to use a more permanent type of a adhesive like E6000 or Gorilla Glue or something. Your choice, whatever you think will work for you. They weren't heavy. I wasn't too worried about it. So I'm just putting them on, and then I'm going to play around with those flowers a little bit and make sure that I get them in the right shape. Also, I'm touching up any teeny tiny little spots because silly me, I was painting the letters while the white sign was sitting on my table. Don't do that, friends. Move it away and you won't get splatters unless you want splatters, and then put it right there like I did. Oh my gosh, silly me. Honestly though, I just don't let it get to me. It's crafting, it's fun, I can fix it. Very few things are not fixable. So I've got my cute little flower O on there, and now I am attaching some, I guess this would be jute twine, nautical rope. It's kind of in between size wise. And I'm going to get it in that hole. I'm going to make a knot on the front. I'm going to put a little hot glue there to keep the knot in place, and then it's going to be my hanger. You guys, this was fun and easy. I am so happy with how it turned out, and I cannot wait to hang it up in my house. I am super excited about this project. I'm using some book pages again, and I'm going to actually put it on a Cricut mat. And I went into Cricut Studio and I got some little butterfly shapes that would fit what I'm going to use them for. And I went ahead and I had them cut, and now I'm just weeding them out. And I'm going to take them off the mat. And then what I'm going to do is bend them all in the middle. So it kind of looks like the wings are flying, like when a butterfly's wings are up against each other. And then I'm going to add these pieces of what would be trash to a really small little wreath I got at Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue them on, but first I'm going to add some other things to the wreath. I have this really pretty flower pick that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to pull off some actual little flowers without the stems, and then some of those little green kind of berries. And then I found a couple different ribbons at Dollar Tree. One is a little thin polka dotted kind of a ribbon, and they're a little bit see-through, and then one is a pink, and they're just so pretty and light. And I didn't want to overpower the wreath with a lot of color because I want the butterflies to really be kind of the, I don't know, the focal point, if you will. So I'm just wrapping the ribbon around, hot gluing it, kind of in a diagonal, and then I'm going to add the thinner one with the polka dots over the middle of the pink one just to give it a little bit of a layered look, and I'm really liking the way that's turning out. I had this little piece of burlap left over from a DIY in my last video, and I didn't want to waste it, so I decided to use it to make a hanger. I just cross it around itself and hot glue it to the back, and then secure it with another little piece of that same burlap, and then I'm going to have a nice little hanger for my wreath. And as I said before, I'm going to take the little flowers and some of those little green berries and just kind of randomly put them around the wreath. I don't want to go crazy. I'm not going to cover the whole thing, but just, intermittently with space between them all, I'm going to add them to the wreath just to give it some color and make it a little spring-like. I'm going to hot glue the little butterflies in various places. I want it to look like they just kind of landed wherever on the wreath. And I absolutely love them. I think with the words on them, it's just the sweetest thing. It's making me want to do more DIYs with book pages. I just think it's such a sweet touch. And I don't know, let me know what you think. I just love this. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm so happy with how it's turning out. My only regret is that I didn't make them bigger. I hope you'll consider joining me on YouTube by hitting the red subscribe button and then turning on the notification bell so you always know when I have a new video coming up. I do all kinds of DIYs in different styles. There's something for everyone. This DIY is this whitewash beaded wooded lantern for $40. I know I can do this for less. I'm going to use some large paint sticks that I got, I think, at Lowe's. I have some wood planks from the Dollar Tree, a sign that I had done a different DIY, and a scrap piece of wood, a beaded necklace from Dollar Tree, an old toothbrush holder that I had I was going to donate to the Goodwill, and then I'm using some Kills white primer paint that I love to use. I'm sanding the little scrap piece of wood that I'm using and then using my ladybug vacuum to clean it up. I will have that link in my description box. I'm painting all of the wood with that white paint, and I'm just going to cover every side pretty much of everything. I'm going to take the paint sticks and I'm going to cut off that little top part where it has an indentation. I'm going to use my miter shears for that. I got those on Amazon and I love them. They make cutting so easy without using major tools. So I'll also leave you guys that link in case you're interested. And I'm going to paint those also. I didn't need the part with the holes on top of the toothbrush holder, and it was really easy. I just bend it and it came right off. So that's great. And then I tried to sand the little ceramic piece so the paint would stick better. I don't know if that helped, but I'm using my ink colored chalk paint to paint this part all black, including the little handle that I'm holding. I'm going to paint all of that black because in the Kirkland's inspired piece, the part that held the candle was all black. In order to get the color that was on the original piece, I used a combination of the fawn colored chalk paint and the white wax from Waverly. So what I'm doing is I'm heavily dry brushing the fawn onto all of the white pieces that I painted. And after that's done, I'm going to go over it with the white Waverly wax, and it's going to give me the exact color that I'm looking for. And I was just really lucky that I guessed right because I wasn't sure how this was going to work. So this works out as a really nice technique. It almost creates like a blonde kind of a wood stain. I need to paint that little scrap piece of wood with the black ink colored paint because that piece in the original is black. And it had a kind of a scalloped edge for the legs, which I don't have. So I'm using these little blocks from Dollar Tree and I'm doing the same paint technique to them that I did with the rest of the wood. And I'm hot gluing them to the very bottom of the base of this lantern. Now I'm going to hot glue the little black square onto the middle of the top of the base in order to attach the piece that's going to hold my candle, which is that old toothbrush holder. I need to drill a hole. So I'm trying to find the center of that little black square. So I'm drawing diagonal lines across, and the center obviously is where I'm going to drill. I'm going to put a little piece of tape there so that I don't splinter the wood. At least that's what I've heard you should do. So I'm going to try it. This is my first time, I think, or second time using my drill in my DIYs. I'm excited. So I'm a little gun shy, so it takes me a little bit to push through, and then I realize I can just push through and it's going to work. Now I'm erasing my lines that I drew in pencil, and I've got my hole. Now I do have to make it a little wider at some point, but I'm able to push my little holder right through, and I'm going to hot glue on the bottom and along the top. And then I'm going to touch up the black paint where I put the hot glue so that it's not so noticeable. Next, I'm going to take those silver beads and I'm going to measure the length of my paint sticks. I need one for each of the paint sticks, so there are 4 of them. So I'm going to cut the right length for 4 of them. Then I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to hot glue it to the edge of the paint stick on all 4 of them. Once all the beads are attached to one side of the paint sticks, I'm going to use my white paint. I'm going to paint the beads on all sides and in between all the little spaces. Then I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to attach each of the stir sticks to the sides of the lantern. Actually, they're kind of like diagonal in from the corners. And I'm going to hold them until the hot glue dries. And then I will go around and I'm going to reinforce every seam where the paint stick hits the base with hot glue because I really want to make sure that these stay put. I'm going to take that top square, the little plank that I already painted, and I'm going to hot glue that directly to the top. So putting a little bit of hot glue on each of those stir sticks. Now, turns out I did not do this super evenly, and it was sticking so well I didn't want to break it off and deal with that, so it's a teeny bit crooked. Probably nobody will notice but me, you know. Now I'm going to take my drill and I'm going to drill into the cap piece. I'm going to drill a hole on each side in the middle because we're going to have a little rope handle. I'm going to take some nautical rope, stick it through the hole, tie the knot on the underside, and then hot glue it so it sticks to the piece of wood. And then I'll cut off the nautical rope and then tie the next one in through the outside to the inside, tie another knot and hot glue it, and that will become my little handle for this. And it's just so cute. I kept looking at the picture. I kept thinking it would have a little pull handle, but it just has a little rope and it's adorable. The last step is to hot glue this little cap piece right onto the top, and that actually completes the DIY. And I think it does look a lot like the original one, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. For this spring DIY, I'm using this Welcome Spring sign from the Dollar Tree and this really cool twine I got from burlapfabric.com. Again, the information is going to be down in my description box. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my Kills white primer. I love this stuff, and I'm going to paint the entire back with one coat of it. I'm not going to go crazy and cover it real heavily. I don't mind if a little bit shows through, because what I'm going to do next is use my antique wax, a combination of that by Waverly and Burnt Umber by Apple Barrel Paints, and make a faux wood grain look. The key to this is making sure your strokes all go in the direction that you want the wood grain to go in. So in my case, I'm going up and down, and I'm starting off with lighter, amounts, and then I'm adding more little by little until I get the look I want. You really can't do this wrong. You're just going for what you like. And I'm going to use an Arteza paint marker. It's in brown, and I'm going to go all around the edges because it was kind of this light looking color, and I wanted it to blend and look like the whole thing was a piece of wood. Now I'm going to take my square ruler and I'm going to create kind of like shiplap lines, and then I'm going to dig them out a little bit with a putty knife, I think is what I'm using, or a blade, just to kind of give that look. Now I'm going to actually be using that twine to outline a shape that I'm going to draw on there next. I'm going to take this little shape from the Dollar Tree that's a mason jar. Now this is smaller than I want it to be, so I'm just going to kind of use it to get the overall idea of a mason jar. I want mine to actually be bigger and wider than this one because of the piece that I'm using to put it on. It would look too small if I used that little teeny size to draw. Now I'm going to take that awesome twine from burlapfabrics.com. I love it. It's like such a good quality, and it's lighter, so it really stands out against this wood grain look. Anyway, I'm going to hot glue it right around the outline of that mason jar that I drew, and it's going to look so cool. I saw a picture of somebody who did something similar, and I kind of made it my own, but I just love the idea of it. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and let you watch how I built my mason jar out of twine. Now at this point, as I'm building like the little, I don't know what they are called, but like the ridges around the top, I want it to look like my flowers are inside the mason jar. And since this isn't really like fully three-dimensional, it's kind of hard. So what I did was I put them under the twine, and that way when I lay the twine over it, it looks like they're inside. I mean, I just think that came out really cool. I love the flowers. I decided not to add the colorful ones. I thought it'd be nice to keep this kind of neutral even though it's spring, because that way I could put it up whenever I want and wherever I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those little rivety things around the top of the jar. I decided to add a little dot of hot glue at the base of each of those stems just to make sure they stayed in place. And I like my projects to look finished, so I took some craft paper and I just hot glued it to the back so that way you wouldn't see the other design on it, and it just looks a little bit more, professional and polished. Not that I'm selling it, but in case I ever wanted to, or even if I give it away, I just want to make sure that it looks nice on both sides. I'm going to take a little bit more of that really, really nice twine that I used already. I'm going to put a little tape around the end, and then I'm going to poke holes back through that craft paper since there were already holes in the sign. And I'm going to feed it from the back to the front and make a knot. And then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue there to hold it in place. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I love the knot in the front. I just think it's so cute, and it adds such a farmhouse feel to it. And it makes the sign hang nicer because the string is more on the back. At least it's my preference anyway. And of course, I couldn't just leave well enough alone, so I had to add some more of those little white flowers. I just felt like right in the front there it was really dark towards the top of the mason jar, so I just added a few more flowers, hot glued them down, and I think that just kind of balanced it out. You'll have to let me know what you think. I really like this one. I'm super happy about it. Can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. For this Kirkland's dupe, I'm doing a lavender arrangement in a rustic watering can. Now they're asking $45. I know I can make this for less. Now mine's not a watering can, it's more like a container you'd see in a restaurant, like that holds syrup, but it was missing the lid. I found that at a thrift shop, picked it up for I think $1.99, great deal. Then I'm going to do the faux galvanized metal technique. Take some black paint, I'm using the ink color by Waverly, and just dab it on. I'm using a little makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of the metallic silver paint from Folklore. And again, just dabbing that on just to, kind of lighten up the black a teeny bit. And then I'm going to use a little bit of white and do the same thing, just dabbing it all over. I'm not rubbing it in, I'm not spreading it, just making little dabbing marks. And then after that, the next color I'm going to use is a gray. It's going to be Steel from the Waverly chalk paint line. And I'm going to be putting that all over it, including the inner rim, because that might be seen. So I'm trying to do everything that's going to be seen. Now, I learned this technique from a channel called Chalk It Up Fancy. It's a mother-daughter team, and they do a lot of amazing tutorials. And I've learned so much of my special techniques from them. And I'll put their channel link down in my description as well. The last thing I'm going to do is use some burnt umber from Apple Barrel paints. You can get those at Walmart. And I literally just dab around all the edges and seams and places where you might find some rust or serious wear and tear. And it's amazing how it gives that look. It's so good at that. And I know people use all different colors for this, but I will say burnt umber is my favorite for this technique. Does anyone else think it's funny that we clean off these items with alcohol and then turn around and do a painting technique to make them look dirty and rusty? I just think that's kind of funny how we do that. Oh well, at least I know it's clean, right? I got this little roll of burlap from Walmart, and I'm going to cut a strip. I don't want those seamed edges involved in this. I want everything to look very, very, rustic like the picture from Kirkland. So I'm going to cut off both of the edges, and then I'm going to pull some of the thread of the burlap on either side to create a little bit of a frayed edge. And I do that after it's attached because that's when I thought of it. So now I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue, and at first it didn't want to stick because I think I missed the mark on where the burlap was. So I go back in, and I've got it now, and I'm going to use my little applicator for makeup that I got, I think on Amazon. I can link that down below too. That way I don't burn my fingers. I used to burn myself all the time, you guys. Oh my gosh, so now I'm fraying it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the rope that I have and tie around and make a very simple bow, just like the picture. I'm also going to put a couple of dabs of hot glue to keep the bow in place because I want it to lay, a certain way so it looks just like the piece that I'm trying to replicate. I have several picks of lavender that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to arrange them inside is now a vase, I guess. And I'm going to cut off the ends so that it's just the right height to fit in there and look as similar to the picture as possible. And I do actually end up adding another one when you see the final reveal because I thought it just needed to be a little bit fuller. I really love how this piece turned out. It's funny, I don't decorate my house with super rustic things, but I love making them. Go figure. My husband loves this one too. I think he wants it now in his office. Pretty soon all my crafts are going to end up in his office. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, I hope you guys like it. I think it looks a lot like the original one other than having a pouring spout. Other than that, I think it came out great. So let me know what you think. For this DIY, I am going to use that little tray, the wooden tray, and the birdhouse made out of wood. I'm also going to use these little knobs that they sell at Dollar Tree. I actually end up only using the star ones. I don't use the moon ones. And I actually don't end up using any of these ropes. I start off using it and then I don't. And then this little garden edger piece, and I do cut that up. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my tray, remove the tag, and I'm gonna paint it in the chalk paint color Fern by Waverly. I really love this color. I finally found it. My Walmart has been out of a lot of the Waverly paint colors, so they just finally got some and I stocked up, and I'm really excited. Also, when I start out a project, a lot of times I throw everything on the table that I think I might use, and then little by little I figure out what I'm actually gonna use. So what you see in the beginning isn't always what I'm gonna do. And I painted that entire tray, top, bottom, sides, everything. Now I'm going to take the birdhouse and I'm going to paint all of it in plaster. That's going to be my base coat. Plaster is another Waverly chalk paint color, kind of a slight off-white. I'm going to take the white antique wax by Waverly and I'm going to just lightly, I wouldn't even say dry brush because I'm doing it a little heavier than that, so let's just call it kind of a whitewash. And I'm just covering all of the sides and the edges and the tops and the inside and the bottom because I want to give it a little bit more of an aged look. Even though I love that color Fern, I love it with that white wax. It really looks nice. Quick poll question for you guys. How many of you actually use the antique white wax? I haven't heard that many people using it, so I'm kind of curious. Now I'm taking my square ruler and I'm trying to determine what the middle of each side is. And once I find it, I'm going to put a little piece of masking tape there and I'm going to drill a small hole, and that's going to be where my little star knobs are going to go, one on each side. Now originally I put these in there because I'm going to create like a rope hanger for this, and I needed something on the opposite sides. The handles are there already, but the longer sides didn't have anything. I eventually take the rope away and I don't make a hanger out of it, but I decided to leave the knobs because I kind of thought they were cute. Let me know what you think when I get all done with that. Now time for the fun painting. I'm going to use some antique wax by Waverly and the color crimson, which is a really pretty red. I'm going to paint my whole barn around the sides, front and back, red. Oh my gosh, isn't that red gorgeous, you guys? I just love it. Who doesn't love a red barn? This is so fun. I don't think I've ever painted one other than on a piece of paper, like back in grade school. Does anyone even say grade school anymore? Or did they say elementary school? I know in England they call it little school. What do you guys call it? I'm kind of curious now. I'm out of that scene, so I don't really know. I'm going to use the antique Waverly wax to do the sides and underneath of the roof, kind of like the edging, if you will, and then also the very base of this house. The barn now it is, I'm going to do in that color. I really like that. I decided to leave the roof in the plaster color, but I'm going to go ahead and very lightly dry brush it with the antique Waverly wax. And that just means I put a teeny bit on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then drag a little bit on it. And then I'm also going to do the same thing all around the sides so I can make the barn look old and dirty. And I'm going to take an Arteza paint marker in the color brown, and I'm going to paint on a door in the front. And then on the two sides, I'm going to do windows. And in the very back, I'm going to make a little trellis, you'll see. And then I'm going to add some white crossbars on the door and on the windows. And I don't know why, but they're just not even at all. I don't know why I had such a hard time. And my Arteza paint pen in white just isn't working really well right now. I probably need to replace the tip. So I didn't use it, and I should have, because it probably would have come out so much better. Anyway, it's an old barn. Things would be broken and rickety, so it's okay. And I'm loving my trellis, you guys. I saw a picture of one, so I kind of was drawing it, looking at that, and I just think it came out so cute. Sometimes it's just the little details that really make something special, and I really had fun with this one. And I do go over it with the white, and then I also distress it lightly with the antique wax when I'm all done so that it doesn't look like stark white, because then it wouldn't make any sense at all being an old dirty barn. I am using a very soft little cheap makeup brush, like from Dollar Tree, to do this kind of distressing. It is so nice because the little bristles are so wispy. So I just want to mention that in case anyone's looking for an option other than a chippy brush. I'm going to hot glue that barn right onto my little tray. And you see I've got that rope there because I was making a hanger. And now I'm putting some Spanish moss. I'm just kind of gluing it down all inside the tray. I want to cover up those screws from the knobs and just fill it in all around, because ultimately this is a birdhouse. And there's my little edging piece. I cut it down to one of the little loops. And now I'm going to end up cutting it even shorter. I'm cutting off the little edging so that it's a nice curved, smooth piece, as smooth as I can get it with tin snips cutting. They do a great job, by the way. They cut right through that plastic. The hardest thing is just getting the right angle so you don't cut off too much. So you see there, now I've cut off some of the bottom and I've made it shorter, and I'm going to put it in. And then I realized there is a screw in the middle, so I've got to cut that middle piece a teeny bit shorter. And it's about here when I realized, no, this rope isn't going to work. So I took it all out. And now I'm snipping that little middle piece so that it will all fit in there. And I'm going to hot glue that little piece of the edging right in. And now it looks like a wrought iron fencing kind of a decor, and I love it. This one even looks cute from the back. The only thing you could do different is put a matching piece of that garden edging up against it so it kind of rounds it out. It doesn't look hollow in the back. I also took 4 of those teeny little blocks, painted them with the plaster, and then did some Waverly wax over them to antique them a little, and I hot glued them to the very bottom. It's because of those knobs that I needed to do that so that it would sit flat. It just kind of sat just a little off, and by putting those 4 little blocks underneath, that was perfect. I love this one so much. Tell me what you think. For this DIY, I'm going to use a mason jar, some faux leather from burlapfabrics.com that they were so kind to send me, and I'll put all the information in my description box, some florals that I got from Dollar Tree and Target, and then I've got those pop-up stickers you can see in the background too. Right now I'm going to use my square, and I'm going to cut a strip of the faux leather. I already cut out a piece to begin with, but now I'm just going to cut one that's just about the right width for what I'd like to see on my mason jar. And I'm going to cut that out after I've drawn the line on the back side so you'll never see it again. And I do a lot of trimming to get this just right. I don't put it all on camera because, you know, who wants to watch me trim? Now I'm going to take out these little pop-up stickers. I love these things because with my metallic silver paint from Folklore, you can actually make them look like little rivets. Now I'm going to paint them with my plaster colored chalk paint first because that'll make it easier for the silver to stick. And I don't know why I only painted 2 to begin with. I actually need 4 of these, so I do go back and paint 2 more. I don't know what I was thinking. And then I've got these 2 little boards that I got out of a little shelf from the Target dollar spot, and I used the shelf for something else, and I just kept those 2 little shelf pieces, and I decided that they would be great for this project. So what I'm going to do is put them together with some hot glue, and then it'll look like planks that way. And it was already painted white and it's already a little distressed, so I don't actually have to do anything else to that, which was really, really nice. Because hey, when you get that and you use it as extra pieces from a different DIY, it's like bonus and it's almost like free. Now I'm going to take my little mason jar and I'm going to put a boatload of hot glue on there, and I'm just going to stick it right on the planks. And it actually stays really well, but I'm going to also use my faux leather and I'm going to glue that down on either side, and then I'm going to cut off the edges so it looks like it's just kind of wrapped around it. And it's just one more little form of security. I'm going to tuck a little hot glue under little parts of the faux leather too to just kind of stick it to the jar as well, and you can see me doing that right here. And I'm already loving the way this is looking. It's very fresh, and with the white, I just really like it. I like some of the darker distressed stuff too, but sometimes it's just nice to see something a little brighter. Now I'm going to trim the edges and then tack them down with some more hot glue. Now I'm going to take those little pop-up stickers that I painted, and I'm going to put 2 on each side towards the corners of the faux leather, so it looks like little tacks or rivets holding down the faux leather. Just kind of brings that look up a little higher and makes it look a little more finished and expensive, and I love the way that looks. After trimming the faux leather, I had another piece left, and I decided to trim that even narrower and make a faux hanger. We're into faux here today. I don't think it's going to be strong enough to hold this up, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it real thin. I'm going to attach it to each sides and then up and over the top, and then I'll make another little rivet on each side, and that'll be like a faux hanger. On the back, I'll actually put a little bit of jute twine for a real hanger and secure that with tons of hot glue and some masking tape across it as well. And I just think this will give it such a cute look, but at the same time, I'll have a practical way to hang it without, breaking anything. And I'm going to actually use 2 of the smaller pop-up stickers to make the little rivets or tacks for the side there for that top faux hanger. It'll just look like it's attached then by something a little bit more sturdy. And then I'm going to take the greenery that I got and I'm going to trim it down to size. And I'm actually going to position it and use some hot glue to attach it to the inside of the mason jar. That way I can get it exactly where I want it. I'm not looking to like fill the whole thing up. I actually want it to kind of lean up against those little planks. I think that's going to look really cute. And then I'm going to add the little, I think those are tulips. I'm not sure. They look like mini tulips. I don't know what they are. Anyway, it's so pretty. And I'm just going to do the same thing there. And I'm also going to tack down the leaves a little bit so they lay the way I want them to look. And instead of kind of bunched together, I like it to look a little more spread out. I can just add a drop of hot glue. You won't even see it. And that way it'll just look really, really nice. Now, if you decide to make this, you could use any florals that you want that fit your decor. You could change them out for different seasons. This Kirkland's item is $50 and it's so cute. It's a nice serving tray that, says something about blessing the food and the family and the love between us, and I really like it. And I thought, I bet I can make this for less. So here we go. I found this already galvanized type of a tray at the Goodwill for $4, which, gosh, with that corrugated edge was a really good deal. I'm going to use my White Kills paint. And I'm going to do probably, I think I did 3 coats to get this thing covered. And also I started off with a brush that had bristles and realized I should probably use a foam brush, and that's what I switched to, and that made it much smoother. The look I'm going for is going to be that white enamel that when it gets worn away, you see some black around edges and in different spots. So that's what I'm trying to do here with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the back. I'm not necessarily going to paint those little pads that are on there, but I do get a little paint on there. I'm not worried about it. We'll never see that. I continue until I get this whole thing covered, till I think it looks like the enamel. Those little corrugated edges were tricky. I had to get in there and really kind of pounce on that to get in the little cracks. To give it that worn look, I'm going to take a makeup sponge and use my ink colored chalk paint. It's a black, so I just kind of first go around the edges and then I come back in and I spread some little blotches around. Kept most of my blotchiness to those edges, and I actually think that's where most of the wear would happen anyway. Now I didn't want to pull up the paint with the transfer paper. I'm going to use my Cricut for this, so I put Mod Podge down first. I went ahead and I tried to recreate their fonts as best I could. I just had to keep playing with it till it looked like it. And I will have to embellish it a little bit with black marker, you'll see. And right now I am just removing the letters from the Cricut paper, and I'm going to add, well, actually it's on some masking tape that I'm using as transfer tape. And then I'm going to lay it down, try to center it, and go ahead and rub that on with my little scraper, and ultimately pull up the masking tape to reveal the vinyl. And wherever it didn't come out the way I wanted, I just take a little black marker and I fill it in and fix it. You're going to see that here in just a second. Now I'm going to take the F in the word family. I'm going to create a tail on the end and also on the L in the word love, because that was in the original font. I also lost the dot on the I somehow in the process. And I'm using this premium decoupage by Aleene's that I got, I think, at Michael's. It was a better value than regular Mod Podge, and it worked great. I would definitely buy this again. You guys, I love this one so much. It came out great, and you have to let me know what you think. I hope that you like it too. Did you know that I'm on social media? You can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. Same name, Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie. Come on over and say hi. To start off, we're going to need 2 pizza pans from the Dollar Tree. Hey, does anyone else have a hard time finding these? I couldn't find them for like months, so I finally just stocked up when I did. They're a hot commodity over there. Also, we're going to need some beads, and I used not the very largest, but the next size down. Now, my beads I ordered on Amazon. I got 1,000 for, I want to say, like $13, and they're assorted sizes. You cannot go wrong. That's probably the best price I've found so far. I'm removing the label and scratching off any of the little sticky things that are left behind, and I'm going to go ahead and clean the trays with some rubbing alcohol just to make sure that they are free from debris before I do any painting of any kind. Just a good idea. I mean, they've been sitting in a store, who knows how they've been touched or what's on them dust wise. So then I'm going to figure out what bead size I need, because I'm going to be putting the 2 trays together. They're going to be the wrong sides together, and that creates a little ledge and a little lip, if you will. I am determining how many beads I'm going to need. Then I put them all on skewers to make it easier to paint them, and I stick them in a little piece of foam, like that was packing foam that I had. So I try to use everything, my boxes, my packing foam. I try to find a use for everything just to be, a good steward of things and not throw them out there into the environment until they've been used up as much as possible. And then I literally will paint them just while they're standing there. It makes it so much easier. Now I'm going to go back to the trays, and I'm using the color I'm using the Waverly chalk paint, the color Mineral. And right now I'm just going to paint the edges, what you're going to see, because when they're stuck together, you won't actually see the back side of the trays. You're going to see the front sides and then kind of just a piece of the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and paint those, you know, just get that on there and let that dry so I can work on the rest of it. And I will do the same thing on the other one. And now that that side has dried, I can go ahead and paint the entire front and make sure also that the edges are done and that nothing is missed that will be seen. And I literally only had to do one full coat, and then I just went back and touched up a little because I'm going to be dry brushing a couple of other colors on there to create a little bit of kind of a stone / aged look to this tray. I'm also painting all of those beads in the same color Mineral so that that all matches, and then they'll get dry brushed as well. Now, I picked up several of the Dollar Tree calendars that I could find, and this is the Shine Bright in All That You Do calendar. And I looked through and I found, just to show an example on this project, I found 3 different types of occasion pages. One for fall, one for like Thanksgiving, and one for the holiday season in December. And now I'm just figuring out how I'm going to cut them into a circle that will fit inside of the top of the tray. Now, obviously, it doesn't fill up the entire circle, and I'm going to take care of that. But I'm just going to get it as close as I can, and then I'll use the first one as a form for the other 2, and then I will cut those out as well. Now, you can use whatever you want as your different pieces for your different occasions. So if you were doing a birthday celebration or another holiday, you could get a picture or some other piece that would fit flat on top of your trays. These are just some examples for you. I came up with an idea to string all of my painted beads on some twine and then lay them down and glue them instead of individually gluing them. I thought this would save so much time and make sure that the spacing was the same between all of them. And I need to tell you, it worked out really great. The only thing that really was a big surprise was that after having measured out how many beads I needed, I was short like 3 beads. So I had to quickly put 3 more beads on a skewer, paint them, get them to dry, and then I had to glue those back on individually. But, you know, other than that, that went pretty well. And this actually just showed me how much easier it is to space the beads using the twine. So a little tip there. I added a little extra hot glue on the center part of the beads that you'll never see, just to make sure they were all very secure. And then I also got the other tray ready with hot glue as fast as I could before it dried in the rim, and then I could set that one on top of the other tray that already had the beads and put them together. Originally, I was going to use 4 of the very large beads as legs, but I thought they were just too small in this situation, so I found this little plastic kind of decorative bowl at the Dollar Tree. I think it came 4 for $1, great deal. And so I hot glued that to the center of the back. Hopefully that was the center. Not very good at doing that. And then I painted it in Mineral also so that it would match completely. I'm going to start my dry brushing with the color Elephant by Waverly. It's a very dark gray. And I'm going to use this really stiff brush, and the reason I like to do a stiff brush is that it's easier to do the dry brush technique. And basically you put a little bit, very little bit of paint on the brush and wipe most of it off, which is what I'm doing on that piece of cardboard, and then you lightly brush it on your piece, especially catching edges and angles and things like that, and then just doing lightly in the center. And I decided I'm going to do this a little heavy-handed, and then I'm going to keep going over it different colors until it looks exactly the way I want, So there's really no wrong way because you can always repaint with your original color if it gets too dark or too light. And this is my favorite part because it's like the artistic side and you just play with it. And I feel like I'm an artist with a palette, you know, just sitting there going at it. And so I'll just let you watch me do that. And now I'm adding a little bit of the color plaster, which is the lighter. So basically you're using your main color, a darker color, and a lighter color. And that's how I like to dry brush, unless I'm going for a very specific look like a whitewash or antique. On the top, I am leaving the center portion blank, so without the dry brushing, because that's where our little cutout's going to sit and you'll never see that part. Going to seal it with some clear polyacrylic fast drying solution, and I'm going to do that on the back, all around the stand and the sides and the top, and let that dry. Off camera, I laminated my cutouts. I am cutting out around the circle on all 3 of my pieces so that I can fit them on top of my tray. I guess I forgot to film this part, but I did take a piece of the larger nautical rope from Dollar Tree and I hot glued it all the way around the top edge, and that covered the spaces where you couldn't see the sign itself, where it wasn't perfectly round, and there it is. Oh my gosh, I am loving this thing. And to think this was 2 pizza trays and a cheapy little plastic bowl. Oh my gosh, this really looks so much more expensive, and look how you can style it any occasion, any holiday, any decorations. And it was so easy to make. Anyone can do this. You can do this. I know you can. If I can do it, you can do it. This DIY is a combination of Dollar Tree and Goodwill, I guess thrift to treasure. I got this placemat at the Dollar Tree that says blessed, and there's some of the bigger nautical rope that I got from Amazon. And then I got this really cool metal tray at Goodwill for $4. The first thing I'm going to do is position the bottom of the tray over the placemat so I can decide where it is that I'll need to cut. And I used a blue marker to go ahead and do that. I outlined it and now I'm just cutting it out. I chose the word blessed because that is very inspiring to me, to know that I am blessed. And actually there is a scripture. It is Psalms 118:26 that says, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. We have blessed you from the house of the Lord." And I just love that, to know that I can be a blessing to others and others can bless me. And that's very inspiring. So I just hot glued this word bless, the placemat, into the bottom of the tray, and then I added some of that rope around just to kind of hide those little edges where I cut the placemat. And I went around several times until I kind of reached the top, and then I'm going to construct little handles out of an even larger rope, the kind that you get at Dollar Tree. Now to tie the projects together, I decided to use my buffalo check ribbon and make a bow on each side of by the handle, just to kind of cover where it touches the bottom there, where it's raw edges. And so I just make the little bow, just very basic bow, trim the edges with a dovetail, and then hot glue them to either side. And here is the finished project. I love how it turned out. You could put so many cute things and style it for whatever season. This DIY is being made out of these little cauldron things I found at the Dollar Tree. They're in the St. Patrick's Day section, even though I wasn't actually intending to use them for that. They end up kind of looking like that. And then I've got a canvas, which I'm just going to use the frame. As you see here, I just pulled off the canvas, and then I use this little teeny tool. It looks like a crowbar. It wasn't mine, so I can't list it below. I'm out of town and borrowed it from my brother. So what I'm going to do, I don't have any of my normal craft supplies with me, so I'm really improvising. I'm going to use some brown paint and water it down, and I'm just going to put it all over the frame and then wipe off the excess with a paper towel, and that will be my stain. I didn't want a real dark one anyway, and so this worked out just perfectly. Now I'm going to take those little cauldrons and I want to hang them from kind of like the middle of the frame. But first I'd like to paint them. So I'm going to sand them so that the paint will hopefully stick better. And I'm going to mix some green with white to make a really nice pastel green. Now that they've been painted, and it took 2 coats, and then I added a little bit of white over the top to distress them lightly. I'm going to put some twine around the rim of the top of each one. I'm just going to hot glue it right to that spot. And I think that makes it look really cute. I picked up some flower picks from Dollar Tree and the Target dollar spot, and they were so nice. And I'm looking for, you know, kind of the more natural looking ones where they're different kind of greens and then a little bit of those white kind of, I don't know what they are, flowers. Now I've got this ribbon, and I love this ribbon with the black chevron on the burlap, and I'm using that over the top, and it's going to facilitate a hanger. So you'll see the ribbon attached to the top of the frame, and then I'm going to take a little piece of jute twine and make a loop and put it on the back so that when it's hung up you don't actually see that part, but then you just see the pretty ribbon. And now I'm going to determine where I'm going to attach the jute across the frame and hot glue it. And I'll cover each end with a little bit of ribbon so that I can hang the 3 little cauldron pots. And now I'm just stringing the 3 little, now they're planters, across with the jute twine, and then I will hot glue it to the other end and put some ribbon on it. I'm going to make 3 little simple bows out of jute and put them on the front of each one, and that's it. It was super easy. It came out so cute. You'll have to tell me what you think. I hope you guys like it. This Farmhouse Rustic DIY is going to be very rustic. I'm using even smaller sticks from that group of sticks that my husband collected for me. And I'm going to start hot gluing them together. Start with a square, and then I put in angles because ultimately I want it to be round. I am making a bird's nest. Now, having done this, you guys, I have gained a whole new respect for birds who make nests, because I had clippers, I had hot glue, I had someone else collect the sticks for me. I don't know how they do this without hands, basically with just their beaks. It's pretty impressive if you think about it. I'm adding some Spanish moss to the bottom, so that's going to be the very base of the little nest. And then I'm going to build up the sides again with more sticks, and then I'll build out from here so that it gets a little wider. So I wanted, you know, like a nest, the center to be smaller, and then as you get to the edges it gets wider. And I'm going to continue to add the sticks till I get it to the size that I want. I'm going to continue hot gluing the moss on until I think it looks just like a bird's nest. now that I have the last little pieces of Spanish moss added on, I'm going to start working on making some eggs. I've got 2 Easter eggs from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use a mop head, but in the mop head it's basically like 3 strands, so I'm going to separate them. Otherwise it's going to be the biggest egg ever, so I want to use the thinnest piece of that mop head. I'm hot gluing the 2 little eggs so they stay shut, and then I'm going to start at the very top, and I'm just going to go around and around and around until I get the entire egg covered in the strand of the mop head. I'm going to do that with both of the eggs, and literally that's all I'm going to do to them because I want to keep this super simple and very rustic. And I do think they're super cute. Yeah, if you look really closely, you can kind of see the color poking through, but honestly, when they're laying in the nest, you don't notice it as much. And there they are. I'm going to make a little bow now. I'm taking this cute little blue polka dotted bow from Walmart, and I'm also going to take that really thin jute twine, and I'm going to double it up, and I'm just going to tie it around, wrap it around my finger, tie the middle, and then cut the ends, and then I'm going to make a little tail and hot glue the tail to it. I'm also going to wrap some of the blue ribbon around the center to give it like a pretty little center. And once that is all assembled, I'm just going to hot glue it right onto the nest. And that's going to be it, you guys. Oh, I am going to glue the eggs down so they don't move around, but it's just so cute and so easy, and you could style this any way you want, and it's perfect for spring and, you know, or Easter or whatever. I love it. I love the simplicity of it, but it's so beautiful. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you guys really like it. For this spring DIY, I've got a little mini wreath, and I've got these carrots from Dollar Tree, and then I've also got some greenery that I got at the Target dollar spot. These wreaths come 2 in a pack, and you just have to really look closely to figure out where to cut them apart. I almost thought they were just 1. Now I've gone ahead and I'm hot gluing little leaves from this greenery that I got, and then I'm going to attach the carrots. Now I'm figuring out the pattern or design that I want to do right now, and I end up putting kind of a little row of leaves, and then I'm going to put 5 carrots hot glued to it. Super easy, super fast, and it came out adorable. I decided to take that burlap black chevron ribbon again and use that to create a cute little faux hanger that's going to have the hanger on the back, which is just another little piece of jute twine. And you guys, that's it. I love this one. It was so easy, so cute, and so inexpensive. Oh my gosh. You know, crafts don't have to be super complicated to be fun and really cute. This didn't require any special techniques, and I just threw it together. And I really think anyone could make this. For my next DIY, I'm going to make another little modern farmhouse sign depicting something that inspires me. And I'm going to use this little sign I found at Dollar Tree with my Arteza paint markers and some twine. First, I'm going to go ahead and paint this sign because I need to cover up the word cocktails, and I'm going to make it look really cute in that gray that you see a lot in the modern farmhouse decor. Now I wanted to use some really cute lettering, and rather than try it myself, I printed out some words that I wanted to use off of my computer onto the printer paper, and then I used a technique where you write in pencil on the back and then you turn it around and you lay it on your piece, and then you lightly go over the lettering, and then it will leave an imprint on there using the pencil on the back to give you, a guide. I wanted to give this a try. I've seen other people do it, and so this is my first time. I used a little embossing tool that I got at the Dollar Tree rather than a pen, and that actually worked really great. So that was a nice little tip, and I didn't have to get ink on everything. So now I'm just taking off the paper that I printed out, and I'm going to show you how it came through on the back side of it. And now I can just trace right over with my black Arteza paint marker. Now I wanted to do the scripture that says, "The way, the truth, the life." And I don't know what was going on in my head, but I wrote the word light, or typed the word light. And so this isn't actually 100% the scripture I meant it to be, but I still like it, so I'm going with it. What I had wanted was John 14:6, and the entire scripture actually says, Jesus said to him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And I've just always liked the part where it said, "The way, the truth, the life." Well, in this case, it's going to be the light. And it is very inspiring because he is telling us that, this is the way, this is the truth, and this is the life we're going to live. And so he does also shine his light on us, and he directs our path. So it all goes together, and it still inspires me, and I'm really happy that I chose it. And now I'm just doing a little dry brushing of the lighter and then the darker, just to give it, again, that modern farmhouse look. I added some more once I put the lettering on, and then I'm also going to go back over the lettering again just to make sure I didn't cover anything up when I was doing this. And to give it even more of a farmhouse feel, I'm going to wrap some jute twine around one end, just kind of haphazardly, and hot glue it to the back, the starting point and the ending point. And I just love that look. And I was still thinking it needed something more. So I grabbed some black and white buffalo check ribbon that I got, I think, from Walmart. And I went ahead and just put one strip along the bottom and hot glued it, tucked it underneath the jute twine, and then attached it with hot glue on the back. And that really finished it off, and I just love that look. It's so cute. And, just enough to give it the farmhouse feel and still make that point of the way, the truth, and the light, or the life, just to be inspiring. This DIY is so cool. I found this round wood piece with a hanger at the Target dollar spot. It was $3, and one side has got a whitewashed kind of look and one has got the wood. And then I found the word happy, the metal word happy, at the Dollar Tree. And then I have some flower picks. And so what I decided to do is hot glue the word happy across this wood round, and then I'm going to put some cute little flowers and greenery around the bottom and just decorate it that way. It's super simple, but it just feels like spring, because spring makes you happy, especially after all the snow and whatever in the winter. So I just thought, what a cute wall hanging this would be. It's like a wreath, but not a wreath. kind of ran into this little dilemma. There were 2 holes in the metal word happy. I guess you could have hung it. Well, I already had a hanger on the wood round, so I decided to use these little pop-up button things from their stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I put them over the holes, but then I thought, oh, that looks weird just on the H and the 1 P. So I just put a couple across each letter, and they were pretty colors and they were very spring-like, and I thought, you know what? That'll work. What do you guys think? Would you have done that, or would you have done something different? Let me know in the comments. I honestly love how this one turned out. I hope you guys do too. This is another super easy farmhouse DIY. I've got one of the red cutting boards from Dollar Tree and a pot holder that I got at the Target dollar spot. It came with a dish towel that I am using for something else. So I'm using a different white paint this time. It's an acrylic. I really want to cover that red, so I didn't want to use the primer as much on this one. So I'm just going to cover it. It takes a couple of coats. I will dry it in between each coat, and I'm on the last coat right now, and you can see how well it's covering. And then I'm going to take this pot holder, I'm going to cut off the little tab as well as the hanger on the corner. And what I'm doing is figuring about where I want to cut it down kind of the middle, and that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to, and this is going to be kind of hard to explain, I'm hoping you can see it, I'm going to cut that inner filling so that it's shorter than the 2 sides. And then I'm going to cut one of the 2 sides shorter, so I can take the longer side and wrap it over and around and hot glue it down, and then I finish off the seam without sewing it. Just watch. If you have to rewind and watch again and then see what I did. I'm just making sure that one side of that pot holder, which is going to now be the front, is longer than everything else, so I can wrap it over and hot glue it. So you see I'm making sure that's the case right now, and here I go. I'm bending it over and I'm putting some hot glue. I'm starting in the corners to make sure I get a nice start on this. And then I'm going to work my way across and make sure the other corner is done as well. And that's all I'm going to do to this piece to get it ready for this project. Now the side that I'm gluing doesn't have a very finished edge, as you can see, but that's okay because you're not going to be able to see it. This will be on the inside of this project. And if you're wondering why I'm not ironing this down to make it easier, there are these little rubber lines, kind of like grippy lines on the front side of the pot holder that I think would melt, and I'd have to put a thick towel down, and that probably wouldn't help me with the ironing much in this case, so that's why. If your pot holder doesn't have that, then please definitely iron it down. It would help quite a bit. And of course, feel free to sew if you prefer. My machine wasn't set up, so I just thought hot glue would do the trick. Now I'm just going to turn over the little cutting board and paint 2 coats on the other side. That way both sides are nice and finished. I'm going to spray some Krylon clear finish over the front side of this just to give it a nice sealed finish. Once that dries, I'm going to take my pot holder and I'm going to put the ugly backside hot glued to the very bottom of this cutting board. So you see I'm attaching the bottom, and then I'm going to turn it to the side and do the sides. And now I have like a little pocket that I have created on the front of my cutting board. I found these super cute faux tin decals that are meant for like your backsplash in the kitchen, and I just cut out one piece of the design, as you can see there, and I attached it right onto the top of the cutting board. So no matter what I put in here, there's something decorative on it already. And I did find those decals at the Dollar Tree. And now I'm going to take some lavender picks from the Dollar Tree. I think they're the Dollar Tree. They could have been Walmart because I have all my florals mixed together now and I forget. But it looks so cute. I'm just going to trim them down and I'm going to stick them right in there and arrange them. No hot glue. That way I can switch out the florals for seasons. And boy, it can hang straight to the wall with the hole in the top of the cutting board. It does not get any easier than this one. I hope you guys like it. I sure do. I also ended up adding some boxwood picks because it just makes it look so full and lush. this DIY, I ran into some problems pretty early on. I'm using a little wood round from the Dollar Tree, some pop-up stickers, a little stencil, and I mixed some blue and white paint together to make a pastel blue, which I think is so pretty. I'm just, again, going for those spring colors, and I'm going to paint around the sides too. And then I'm going to surround the outside of the circle with those little pop-up stickers. I'm going to paint over this one, though, not like I did on the happy sign. This will be different. But I love the effect. I first saw this effect from Nicole at the Week's Nest, and she's done it on several projects and really cute. I'll put her channel link down below just if you want to check that out. And so now I've completed putting them around, and I am going to go ahead and paint over them with a kind of lighter bluish white, just to give it more of an accent. I am putting the stencil on the top, trying to center it, and then I'm going to use some white paint and a little brush to go ahead and carefully put it around. And look what happened. Oh my gosh, it bled everywhere. I thought I was being so careful. Anyway, it's crafting, we can move on, and I decided to paint the whole inner circle white. And I grabbed 2 more of those carrots, and I'm going to use really pretty ribbon I got at the Dollar Tree. And so I'm just going to tie a bow, and I'm going to hot glue them directly to the little round, and this project is done. What do you guys think? I thought the stencil would have been really cute, but you know what? I actually like the carrots better, so we'll call it a happy mistake. It's also got a hole in the wood round so you can hang it from something, or I could just set it on a 3-tier tray. I think it's just gonna look so cute for the springtime. I'd love to hear what you guys would have thought to do in that situation. I bet you have lots of great ideas. Let me know. Okay, you guys, honestly, this one is the easiest. I said the other one was the easiest, but no, this is the easiest. I got this home sign from Dollar Tree. They put it out right when Valentine's stuff started going out. It's got a heart on the end, and I have this tissue paper. I don't end up using the tissue paper because I decided to simplify things. I tend to go the other way, and I decided to channel my inner DIY beauty on purpose. My friend Leonette, she does things very simply and I love them, and so I'm trying to do that more often. I'll put her channel link in my description below so you can see what I mean. I'm going to take this, I'm going to use my plaster colored paint from Waverly, it's chalk paint, and I'm going to cover this, but I'm not going to go for like a super full coverage. I'm just going to let a little bit of that kind of wood grain peek through, and I'm going to paint the sides as well, but again, kind of a sloppy paint, letting see how some of that's peeking through? And I'm just going to do it till it gets to what I like, because I'm not going to distress this. I'm going to let the sign distress itself. Now, how's that? Making my craft work for me. Yeah, I like that. We can call that working smarter, not harder. Are you with me on that, everyone? I have these really cute floral picks. I've been using them in a lot of DIYs. I got them at the Target dollar spot. And I'm just going to pull off some of those little fern pieces, and I'm going to hot glue them around that heart. And then there's a couple little like off-white kind of flower pieces that are up at the top, and I'm going to add those to the heart as well with a little hot glue. And that's it, you guys. This one will be done. You could hang this on the wall. You could sit it on a shelf. You could put it on a tiered tray, or you could hang it in the middle of a wreath. I think it's got so many possibilities because of the fact that it's simple, neutral, and it would go with any design that has a farmhouse feel to it. I think this is going to be one of those really versatile pieces that I'll be able to use in a lot of different ways. And to me, again, that is working smarter, not harder. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Now, nothing says spring more than flowers. So I'm going to create a cute little flower box. I'm using one of those little wooden crates from the Dollar Tree, some flowers I got between Dollar Tree and the Target dollar spot, and also this tissue paper that I got at Dollar Tree that is so pretty and very spring-like. What I'm going to do now is measure out the pieces I need to be able to decoupage this tissue paper all around the outside of this crate. I'm not going to do the inside or the bottom because there's really no need. I'm going to take my Mod Podge and I'm going to cover one side at a time, and then I'm going to lay out the pieces that I cut to fit. Made them just slightly bigger, but it's easier to work with than the big sheets of tissue paper. And now I'm going to go ahead and secure every part of it to the crate and then press it down. As I mentioned earlier, I don't have any of my tools with me, so I didn't have my brayer, and I just went ahead. This is such a small piece, it was really easy to just use my fingers very gently and press it down. And then I moved on to the next side, did the same thing, and both of the ends I did as well. I'm going to take my little sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree and very gently sand at the very top edges all the way around the crate, and and this is after the Mod Podge dries, by the way. You don't want to do it before that with tissue paper because it'll pull it right off. But if you do this very gently when it's dry, it'll just separate. And then all you have to do is a super light sanding right over the edge like I'm doing right there. And then I move on to the next side. If I had been home and I had my X-Acto knife, I could have really easily done the in-between the slats, but instead I used this stem that I didn't need, I'd already cut the flowers off of it, just to break through that tissue paper, and then I was able to use my little sanding sponge very carefully and get rid of that excess paper in there. Now what I do after I get all of the paper off is I go back over all those edges with the Mod Podge, just so there isn't any little extra piece that's lifted that I didn't catch, and that way it'll all adhere to the crate. And honestly, it looks like it was always on there. It looks so good. I love that technique. Now I'm going to add this white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. It was a 3-strand cord and I pulled it apart, and I'm just using one of the strands, and I'm going to hot glue it all the way around the top edge of this little crate. I didn't have any floral foam handy, so I just bunched up a couple of white napkins just to fill in the space, and then I trimmed off some of these little pink and white flowers and some beautiful greenery, and literally that's it. This one is done. I love it. I hope you guys love it too, and it really does feel like spring. There is something so rustic about an old rugged cross, and that's what I'm going to make. I had a bunch of sticks that my husband was kind enough to gather for me before the winter started, and I've been saving them for, whatever I might want to use them for. So I'm gathering the same size sticks for the long side of the cross, and then I'm going to cut some to make the short side of the cross. And this is just so fun. I mean, I'm just playing with sticks. they're free. They came from outside. So now I'm going to use my tin snips and just try to cut off any knobs that are, distracting. Just, trying to get the pieces to a similar size. I'm not going for like an exact. I don't mind if some of the pieces stick out a little bit because this is rustic and it's rugged. And I just love the whole concept of this. Now that I have my 2 little stacks of sticks, easy for me to say, I'm going to use some jute twine and I'm going to tie just before the ends. So like, I don't know, an inch or so before each end. And I'm going to hot glue it down and I'm going to wrap it around so that it holds nice and sturdy. And then I'm going to add some additional hot glue here and there to make sure that it stays in place, like that the middle sticks don't slide out. I'm going to do this on each end of the 2 stacks. So that's 4 different spots that I'm going to do this. And it just adds to the farmhouse rustic look of it. And it's just, I love it, you guys. I really do. I mean, talk about a cost-effective DIY, but it's beautiful. It's just so natural and beautiful. And I cannot wait for this to be up in my house. I'm super excited. And now I'm moving on to the short stack, which is the cross part of the cross, or I should say the horizontal part of the cross. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this one that I did to the other one. Now it's time to assemble my cross, and the way I'm going to do that is using that same twine. And I don't think I said it earlier, but this twine is from Walmart. I'm going to pull it under and I'm going to tie a knot around diagonally, and then I'm going to continue to wrap it around back and forth on each angle and then even around the 2 sides to get a really nice secure hold. And I'm going to hot glue it down, and just like I did with the other ones, look for any loose spots and add a little dab of hot glue to hold it in place. I want it to be very secure. I don't want this to go anywhere, and I am just loving this one, you guys. It's just peaceful. It's the cross. I mean, what it represents, and what Jesus did for us by being on that cross. It was just very cool to make this. I have this gorgeous burlap ribbon with lace over the middle from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it from around the back of the tall side of the cross and then over the top of the horizontal pieces, kind of like a shroud. I mean, maybe you've seen people wrap things around a cross like this before, but I just thought it was just the perfect touch. It kept it farmhouse rustic, and it just, oh, I don't know, you guys, I really love this one. I don't know what else to say. Let me know what you think. I'm just so excited. I know my husband's going to want it. I just know I'm never going to see it again. Well, I shouldn't say that. He'll put it in his office, and that's where I'll see it again. If you like these mega compilation videos, let me know down in the comments so I can do more. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the time that you take to watch my videos. It means so much. I will hope to see you in my next video, and please remember that you are a blessing to me.